Yeah, well, Mr. Lammy, congratulations on how gleefully you announced that. To be honest with you, I've had my wife in tears on the phone now. This has done us. It's finished. We have about £150 to £200 a month to spare. Some months on a good month, that's now going to go on a tax. I really weren't going to vote anymore because obviously the Tories and how much they lie. I always used to vote Tory. I weren't going to vote for anyone. I was actually going to give Mr. Starmer a go. With the support backing the mayor, he lost my vote immediately. I urge everyone to vote Tory now to really give you a taste of your own medicine. That's how livid I am this morning.
John, just tell me about your financial situation. What's going on with your finances?
Yep, sorry.
What's going on with your finances?
Finances is I'm working 7 days a week, 15 to 16 hours a day. Because of the cost of living, I have 2 young sons, one at 3, one at 7. Things just aren't...
What are the costs? Have you got childcare costs? Have you got your utility bills?
There's utility bills. There's everything that just seems to get more and more expensive. This is now the final nail in the coffin, especially for me and my family anyway. It's upset me, to be honest with you.
And John, how old's your car? What's the car you've got?
It's about 11 years old. 11 years old, family runabout, a Mitsubishi, nothing special, nothing flash. And now I'm being told by a mayor that it's no good.
All right. Well,
he's now imposed a tax. Hundreds of thousands of people.
There's a couple of things here, John. One, you've said that you're experiencing the cost of living crisis. It's tough. You've got two young kids. Well, the cost of living crisis that you're experiencing, isn't that down to the government that you say that you're prepared to vote for?
That's how angry I am with your mail.
Because
that's how livid I am.
So you've got the ULEZ charge. You've got kids
who
you don't want to have asthma, presumably.
Now
you don't want to get ill. You've got a cost of living crisis.
I have a mother with chronic asthma. Okay.
Okay.
She's had it since I was born. She has never had a flare-up walking around the streets. Come on now, let's all start getting real.
So do you think the woman that called in earlier was sort of making it up?
No, I wouldn't as it goes. But at 82, not all of us are very healthy at that kind of age. Now, I'm not being funny. Even with the poor young girl that passed away, I really feel real bad for their family.
Yes.
But are you telling me that she's walking around in the streets of London and people are dropping down dead? People have got very, very bad immune systems as well, David. You've got to admit this. Come on now.
Hang on.
This has finished us. Labour is supposed to be the party that supports the working person.
Of course.
It is not.
It
has now squeezed us.
Of course.
Squeezed us big time.
Of course, John.
I could never vote for your party ever in a million years. You're with the gentleman that was on Nick Ferrari's show.
John, do you not qualify
to go onto a train with their equipment?
John,
and you tell the Tories are out of touch.
John, look, let's get back to the real world here. I'm supporting folk that haven't got a lot of money in my constituency every single day of the week. I grew up amongst the folk that I represent. So there is a serious side to this. You've said you've got 2 young children. You said you're experiencing a cost of living crisis, and I really recognise that. But then you've also gone on to say that you're not going to vote Labour because of this extra charge. Now, Sadiq says he's listening, and he's got to be listening. He's got a scrappage scheme. Have you checked that you do not qualify for anything in the scrappage scheme?
I'm not eligible. A 2,000 scrappage scheme for a vehicle that's worth £5,500 to £6,000. So there's another $4,000 hit that I'll have to take, David.
It's not only been a tough choice for him, but I think personally it's been a real kind of, he has suffered personally for this, which I think is despicable, to be honest. I mean, somebody, has had to carry the can, and, the spineless government of ours just seem to sort of push sideways their dirt, get, the mayor to do their dirty work. I mean, everybody with an ounce of common sense knows this is fundamentally a necessary and unpopular, maybe, amongst a few people.
Well, that's what leadership is sometimes, isn't it? necessary
Absolutely.
but unpopular.
And we saw the first example of this. I mean, say what people like about Boris Johnson, but my goodness me, he managed to get some rather sort of... I was shocked. I mean, 2020, if we look back, I mean, how did anybody manage to get everybody to stay in? I mean, the guy had some clout, and he managed to do that. And absolutely, did he have to? Didn't he just have to do that with the virus? But there were people like White Van Man who were just rather that we all didn't breathe, but as long as, we have to sort of snivel with him that he has to pay a little bit more to drive his gas guzzler. I'm sorry, but it's about time that people actually spared a thought for those who are actually struggling to breathe.
And it's worth remembering that it is at heart a public health policy, ULEZ. It's not a climate policy.
Well,
I mean, clearly it's an environmental policy because it's about the environment, but at heart, it's a health policy.
Yeah, I mean, your previous caller, your guest who came on, it seems at one stage be sort of intimating it was like an either-or, and one thing's going to affect, the other. But actually, they both go hand in hand. And, in terms of the cost, instead of the sort of narrow-minded blinkered costs involved in going green. How about the cost of not going green? What are the costs of millions of people coming here? What are the costs of not having drinkable water? What are the costs of not having breathable air? I mean, has that been factored? I mean, the trouble is, Sheila, this is what we've got with the government, which is, I don't think there's one scientist in the government. We're led by a group of economists who are just looking at present. They don't understand, or at least if they do understand it, they only understand it in the sort of cold calculating numeracy of figures. How about people's lives? I mean, people's lives don't even figure in the economic world, and it's about time that people who understood these things, well, they damn well should it figure, because it's going to be.
But we do have to be aware, don't we, that the cost. A cost is a cost is a cost.
I am a long-term asthmatic since I was a baby. The last time I went to London, I was so ill, diving in and out of shops, I couldn't take the air. It was so bad. I love travelling down to London for occasions, and I'm dying to go down to see the new portrait gallery. Daren't do it because the air there makes me ill. When I was a little girl and asthmatic, it was a rare condition.
How old are you, Anne?
I'm 82.
Well, that's interesting because someone said I was raising the quality of air. I was defending my friend Sadiq Khan the other day, and they said to me, and he was in his 80s, he said, come on, we used to have smog in London. It was much worse, he said to me. So,
no.
Go on, Anne, go on. Tell me why he was wrong if he's listening.
I think that there was that, and I remember, and wasn't the Parliament brave then?
Yes, it was very brave.
To pass the Clean Air Act.
That's right.
But the particles for car pollution are different. You can't see them.
That's
but
right.
My gosh, I can feel it.
Yes.
And I worry so much about the young children being pushed along the road in a pram, their little faces in line with cars' exhaust.
Emissions,
And it was... Asthma was so much rarer when I was a child. This is one little bit of the puzzle to tackle air pollution, but I think it's a very important one. And I can't go to London until something is done about it. Isn't that awful?
You would support, then, the Mayor of London being courageous, despite the pushback that he's getting?
Oh, yes. I think it's absolutely essential. Every bit that they do is maybe one child's life made better. The thought of those children being pushed along the road. Honestly, David, I was diving into shops to have a breathe before going on. I was so affected by it.
And when was this? How long ago was this?
This was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I went to visit. I had relatives visiting from Canada, and I was there for 3 days, and I came back to a huge and major chest infection that wasn't there when I set off. It was quite frightening.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put myself in, or anybody I'm with,
into
that position again. And I do worry about the children. I really do.